Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. A very warm welcome to you all to the LIV training series of City INT Grand Challenge. With the 4 training workshops, including the STAR workshop before, here comes to the 5th training workshop covering fundamental principles of innovation and design thinking. If you have missed any LIVE training workshops, simply visit the website of the Grand Challenge for playback anytime and anywhere. These playbacks will definitely help you formulate your plan for this innovation journey. Definitely a soft reminder for everyone, apart from exciting awards and prizes, winning projects of the Grand Challenge may have the chance to be prototyped. Be an innovator and don't miss this important and valuable opportunity. In this upcoming section, we've invited 2 distinguished speakers from universities. They are going to share with us their definition of innovation and some important success factors for innovation from real inspiring cases. We will have a Q&A section after the 2 sharings. So if you have any questions for our speakers today, remember, submit it and type it through the online platform, and I will ask your questions to our speakers after their sharings. Without further ado, let me introduce you with our first speaker of the day. He is Mr. Nicholas Oy, Program Manager of Lingnan Entrepreneurship Initiative of Lingnan University. Nick is experienced in conducting design innovation and inclusive entrepreneur-related workshops. He will share with us the essential skills of design thinking and how design thinking help formulate a successful innovation. Without further ado, the time is now yours, Nick.
Thank you so much. Hi, welcome to my workshop, and my name is Nicholas Oy, the Program Manager of Lingnan Entrepreneurship Initiative and the Faculty Innovation Pillar of Stanford Design School. Just to let you know a bit of the full fact, number 1, I'm a Malaysian. Number 2, I love Tuen Mun so much. And what you want to ask me about, design thinking, like was here displayed. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit more of the essential skills, how you can use design thinking into finding different kind of innovative solutions and to solve some of the global challenges or issues. So why do we design? When we talk about design, basically everyone is a designer. Okay? I'm a designer, you're a designer. When we put out the paper, we start drawing, we are a designer. We can do product design, we can do system design, we can do service design, or even program design. So design thinking is include these 5 different processes from empathy, define, ideation, prototype, and testing. In today's sharing, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about each step and how we can use different skill set or different information into the processes to create an innovative solution. It is a team sport because everyone has our own strengths and weaknesses. So when we do design thinking, usually we work in a group. And do it now, we do reflection and we do it better. So what a design challenge looks like. I would like to share with you a few cases which from different universities and also from Lingnan. Number 1, this is Africa. Africa have very serious electric and also water issue. To get clean water, women and children will walk miles to collect water. Imagine if they have to walk miles away. For example, just from PST walking to Samtripo, it's going to take you around half an hour. And imagine you carry 30 kilograms of water walking around this long distance. It may create a fatigue for the women because the men have to stay in the village to protect the village, right? So we find a challenge here. It might be very far for people in the rural area of Africa to carry water from the nearest river. And people can walk up to 3 hours and to fetch water. In this matter, we look into the insights. Carrying heavy weight over long distance may strain the muscle and cause fatigue, which may negatively affect their women's pregnancy. So we have to make an assumption, okay? When we carry heavy water and walking such a long distance, it may cause us fatigue, which may negatively affect their pregnancy. So in Stanford Design School, they developed this water roller. So women and children can easily fetch clean water around the nearest river and then push it back to the village. Now, how do we apply design thinking? I would like to give you another example from Berkeley.
This is Peru. Every year, Peru will have very serious flood problems. So when we have flood problem, we have traffic issues, we have health issues, we have electricity cut. So when the electricity cut, there appear a lot of medical facilities. You can't use them anymore, right? So for our observation, Peru have experienced severe flood, right? And for the electricity will cut off during the flood season. We have to make an assumption what kind of challenges that we are looking into. So this assumption we make in the insights may affect the healthcare facilities in the flooding area. So when we have a healthcare facilities failure, they're gonna bring risk to all the patients in the hospital. So University of Berkeley, they developed this WeCare Solar Suitcase. It's embedded as a healthcare facility. You can easily use the suitcase to collect the solar power and then to put into the healthcare facilities. Now, how can we do that in Hong Kong? In Lingnan University, in Hong Kong, we have a lot of subdivided households, around 100,000 of them. Okay, and last year we have a very serious pandemic outbreak. In the pandemic outbreak, in order not for the virus to attack the subdivided households and create a large, infection, at Lingnan University, we realized that spread of coronavirus could be very deadly, and we take this matter into disinfection. Disinfection by using liquid could be difficult, especially in such a complex and small area. The subdivided household, people put things around, and there are a lot of places that when we do disinfection, it's very hard to approach. So at Lingnan University, we developed the solar project ultraviolet UVC project. So we help 1,000 households to disinfect their subdivided unit. And later on, we have a 2.0, which is a robot, which can disinfect a large area in a short distance of time, especially during the examination period. So this is what design thinking can actually help us to do. With different projects, different programs, how can we do that with a very beginning of using 5 different processes? Let's begin with the processes. Now, empathy. Empathy is a place where we will understand more of what challenges and issues occurred before we create a solution. We usually use this sentence: if I would change one thing to improve after the pandemic, what would that be and why? Okay. And now looking into the pandemic, there are a lot of issues occurred, especially when we have all the takeaways. We actually create a lot of unnecessary plastics. How can we use recycle in this matter? And a lot of people lost their job, and the unemployment rate has increased. And so, in the definition part, how would we make an assumption of what kind of support they need towards the new normal? Now, when we talk about the assumption, it's like the Berkeley case I was giving you. The assumption is the medical healthcare facility, right? So looking into this, when we during the pandemic, there are so many problems occur. Unemployment, the decrease of the tourist industry, income, and also people like to go hiking, people like to go to suburb and create so much of unnecessary rubbish around. And elderly has increase of the mental health issues, and long time looking into the virtual learning platform like computers and iPad, iPhone, or all these smartphones will help actually decrease your the eyesight. So from the problem space, we are trying to understand the challenges and issues occur, okay? And also define what kind of assumption that we want to make. Now it's time for us to move into the next process. It's called ideation. So in between the definition and ideation, we have a blue lines, okay? You realize the middle blue lines is the problem statement. Problem statement is also so-called a how might we statement. When we create a problem statement, we can move into the solution space. So 2 examples. How might we promote concept of active aging to elders at Kowloon districts? Okay. How might we create an age-friendly environment at Tuen Mun district? So it actually creates a question for you to move forward to create more of an innovative solution. So when we have our how might we statement ready, we can look into the ideation part. So design thinking is like this graph. So in the empathy part, we actually broaden up our horizon to look into different matters, different issues, different challenges, and then we narrow it down and more focus on the how might we statement. So in the ideation part, we will actually flare up. I would like to know a bit more how can we expand in such a huge capacity. Usually when we do a brainstorming, this usually occurs, yes, but when you do a student program kind of assignment, you ask your teammate, how about we carry out the elder program? Yes, but I think the elder program is hard to carry out. How about we do something about ethnic minorities? Yes, but I think it's gonna spend time for us to study more about the data. So what should a good brainstorming actually looks like? In the design thinking, we suggest you to use yes and. For example, how about we do an elderly project around Kowloon district? Yes, and we think that we can also carry out some campaign to promote active aging. Yes, and we also can run some kind of project with the university around Kowloon. So when you use the yes and, yes means a confirmation of the topic, and give you an encouragement for your teammates to provide you more input of the suggestions. Now, when we have so many ideas, so many post-it notes around, you have crazy creative ideas, you have bad ideas, you have undeveloped ideas, you have all these kind of innovative ideas. So how do you evaluate? What kind of ideas you choose it out to do the testing? Like the assumption that I was telling you. So if you evaluate for feasibility, the result could be familiar and incremental. Familiar and incremental results, sometimes people already do that before, or it's very normal, like a normal case. So people do that before, and you want to do that again. In the design thinking, we suggest you to evaluate for potential. What's the potential? Like less people do that, but we can still develop for feasibility. We can explore further, and we can move the feasible study into the feasible study. So when you pick that one idea, it's time for us to do a prototype. So let's say I have an idea with potential. Now what? I would like to take the transparent mask as an example. So if you know, we are wearing this normal mask. People with like disabilities of hearing impaired, they can't actually, they do sign language. They need to use the lip reading as well. So wearing this normal mask, they can't actually do lips reading. So we need to design a transparent mask for this group of people. So a transparent mask have a special the special outcome. So it could be safe, it could be to provide protection, able to read lips, no fog when we do the talking, and also it must be transparent. So what kind of attributes we can provide to in other ways for these five elements that I talked about? We can use plastic mask and a coffee filter to represent this item. So a prototype could be as inspiration for you to find a solution and for you to do the testing in the future. So that's where innovation is usually found. Okay. So at Lingnan University, we developed a very simple transparent mask by using a layer of a wire, and then we put a plastic on it, and then we continue to develop further. Why we do prototype and testing? The cost of error. The cost of error could be less when we do a prototype earlier. Okay, as you can see, the graph is going up. So it would be too late if you go the project timeline is longer. Prototype usually to figure out the details, and it creates an imaginary world where another person can step into for us to study more about the solution and how we can make improvement to the solutions and what kind of other attribute that we can add in to the solution. So also we use improvise to figure out the details. Improvise helps us to understand the feeling of people. So when you want your market to understand your product, you let them test your product. You see what kind of feeling or their expression they give you when they touch your prototype and when they experience your prototype. You can also use Lego prototype because it could be simple and it's easier to find. If you have this bunch of bricks, you can actually stack them together and do a prototype. But usually we will use a paper box and a paper to do a simple prototype. It's not necessary to be very hard. So, and then we will do the testing for assumptions. Now, in the testing is also the empathy for us to understand more about our product, to understand more about our service. So at the testing part, we don't sell, we don't explain, we don't convince, but we let them experience with us. So after the testing, we will evaluate our idea. Okay. So the idea could be evaluated with things that I love, things that I like, and things that I dislike. So design thinking is not necessary to go in one circle, going around after testing, not necessarily go to empathy, but in this way. It could go back to definition, it could go back to ideation, it could go back to prototype. It really depends on where went wrong in your prototype or in your innovative ideas. So remember this graph I was talking about? After prototype, when we did the testing, it's actually narrowed down to our solution as well. And the design thinking process actually looks more like this. At the very beginning, in the empathy and define part, we try to understand the challenge and understand the issues. So things will be going so messy. And after that, when we have a how might we statement, and then when we do a prototype, it will become more stable. We will understand what kind of outcome that we want to do, what solutions that we are looking for. And well, do it now better and do it better. And everything is a design, everything basically. So the pointer that I'm taking, the phone, the water bottle is a design. Program is a design, service is a design. Even this program is a design. So I hope that these essential skills can help you to go forward with your startup. And yeah, see you guys soon and waiting for a question.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nick, for your informative sharing. Thank you for telling us so much about design thinking. So our audience do remember the points and the 5 steps that Nick has shared with us regarding design thinking, because it will be very useful for your preparation for the grant challenge. Before I introduce and invite our next speaker, I would once again like to remind everyone that the application deadline of the City INT Grant Challenge has been extended to the 30th of June this year. So do grab your time and prepare for the challenge, and feel free to visit our website for playbacks on previous seminars for any inspirations needed. Now, it's time for me to introduce you with our second speaker of today's seminar, Dr. Elsie Choi, Head of Social Innovation, ORKTS of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Dr. Choi has extensive experience in innovation management and innovation capability building through design thinking. Without further ado, I'll pass it over to you, Dr. Choi.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be able to share a bit more about what I'm very passionate about. So before the sharing, we actually have a discussion between me and Nick, and hopefully we can have a cohesive picture to tell you more about design thinking, especially for me, for my part, landing in the context of social innovation. My previous life was actually focused more on like management consultancy and focusing on using design thinking to help a lot of commercial organizations, such as Pfizer, which I think none of you would be not familiar with nowadays, and also Unilever, this kind of company. I also had the pleasure of witnessing how design thinking can be applied in the social innovation context through some of the previous projects. And today I'm going to share with you some example. So before we start, I think it's very important that we have some kind of agree or aligned understanding on what is the definition of social innovation. There's different definitions, but the one that is more common that a lot of people know about is that social innovation is defined as a novel solution, something new, right? That could to a social problem that is more effective, efficient, sustainable, or just doesn't mean it's fair for like a different stakeholders. And the most important thing is that this kind of benefit is really not for private individuals, but mainly for the society. So this definition is by the Standards Social Innovation Review. So with that in mind, there are a lot of different problems that we could solve with social innovation and design thinking. this mini example one is actually just to echo what Nicholas says, but like a slightly different story and different take. So to solve the problem of water sanitation for people like us who were from like a developed economy, if you will, would intuitively think about, oh, we should make a large scale change. We should have a water treatment plants, and then everybody can have access to the clean water in a certain region. So that is exactly the things that happen in parts of India. However, what happened is that there's still a lot of people fetching the water from a nearby river, which is highly polluted. And then some people would like to know why the water treatment plant is not very welcome. So when they go there and really like observe what is going on into their life and also talk to them, they explain a few very important things. Just as Nicholas shared to us before, a lot of people actually carry water around, on their head. And the things that happen with the water treatment plant is that they have a regular working kind of like an opening hours. That is exactly the time where a lot of powerful like people or even the men appear stronger actually need to be working in the field, and only women and children can have the time to fetch the water. And in addition to that, they even have some kind of minimum requirement for these people to carry the water. And that's why for the villagers who are supposed to benefit from this water treatment plant cannot actually reap the benefit, because this is really too difficult for them to do that. And that is actually something that with design thinking, we would be able to prevent, because we will have to have a really strong understanding and deep insight into their life and also their pain points. So once you have very good insight about what they want, what are the pain points, and then we can develop an opportunity through having a really good how might we questions. So there are a lot of different alternatives to solve this problem. So you saw one of the alternatives in Nick's presentation, and my presentation give you another potential solution called Live Straw, which is a product that is based on the invention from a university in Switzerland. So basically, this straw can allow the children to drink water directly from the river. Why? Because the filter is so effective. It filters up 99.99% of bacteria and virus. So this is another alternative to the water sanitation problem by having something so easy to use, very portable, and also very cheap. So that is really the power of design thinking. So another example to share with you is a longer example, right? So it's done by another agency. So when I used to work for the design thinking agency, I worked for a company called What If, which is part of Accenture. But there are also like different kinds of agencies using very similar method of design thinking. This is from our friends at Continuum. So this is a financial inclusion project for women in Pakistan. So the government of Pakistan has an income support program to help the poorest of the poor. A lot of women in Pakistan actually benefit from it. So basically, they are going to give out the cash payment of 3,000 Pakistan ringgit, which around 10 US dollar per month, right? So in order to really achieve their objective, they really want to have a comprehensive understanding of the lives of these women, the so-called beneficiaries or the users of this program. So they send a bunch of researchers directly, just go there and really talk to these women to understand like their lives and attitudes and behavior and the problems, the pain points that they face, right? So in order to have like a 360-degree understanding in their lives. So this is like a very simple capture of what they find out, right? Usually in the design thinking project, we will come up with some kind of like archetype of the user or persona. So this one is like a simplified version for like 4 different kinds of women based on like a lot of interviews that they have done. Some of them are from more well-off backgrounds, some of them are actually in the rural or urban area, etc. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to dive deep into this. However, I would like to kind of identify the 2 major pain points that they find out through this in-depth interview or immersion in our terminology. Is really to spend a lot of time in their life. First key pain points that women face is that, yes, we love this program, but the money that's come historically has been paid so irregularly. Why? Because in the past, they always rely on the postman to send the cash to different villages. And you can imagine that weather or robberies or anything could be a barrier to the effective distribution on time. This is pain point number one. Pain point number two, most of the women are illiterate and they're not able to really get the money themselves. Even the monies could be put into a bank, it would be very difficult for them to use bank as a means to receive the money and also to plan on that. So that is pain point number two. I just want to show you this picture of normally what do the women do, even if they have a bank account, and even if the money just go into the bank, they will have to rely on like male relatives or someone they call a chaiwala. So basically, it's some guys that can help them to withdraw the money. So you can imagine that with this root cause of illiteracy, these women find it very hard for them to, first of all, get the money independently, and secondly, to really monitor whether the correct amount of money is actually in their bank account. So this is actually a really major issue, right? Literacy is actually a really, really broad issue. It's not something that you can solve very quickly. However, in order to have an effective design thinking project, you need to scope your project in such a way that it's not too broad or not too narrow. So they would focus on how do you actually address this issue of illiteracy blocking them from receiving the money independently and also to do some sort of monitoring. So in order to understand literacy, it's very important that for people like us who are literate to really understand things from their perspective and live and pretty much see the world through their eyes. Okay, so the standard for literacy in Pakistan for a lot of women is basically your ability to write your own name. Unfortunately, most women in the country were not able even to do that. Okay, so you can imagine how difficult it is. Another very important thing is that when you're illiterate, you don't have a lot of confidence, right? Another very interesting insight is not until you actually talk to them, you don't notice that, oh, that is actually really, really true. Okay, when you look at the screen, everybody, when you look at this mobile phone, you can read very clearly that the numbers start with 4, right? 44470, blah, blah, blah. Because we are so used to reading from left to right. But for in their culture, right, it's very different. The Urdu, so basically their script actually read from right to left. So basically, whatever they see on the screen of the mobile phone is different from what we want them to see. No wonder when we said that there's 3,000 amount of the amount of money from 3,000 is become 003. 3 ringgit is basically nothing, right? So that is one very interesting insight. Another thing is that for people who are illiterate, any sort of additional information appear on the screen could be very, very confusing. Okay, they don't read that like the English, and even like the numerals is very challenging for them. So that is something that we need to actually change. So what about the solution? We cannot change literacy problem in a very short period of time. However, we can find some way to help them overcome this barrier. So one solution is that we provide some graphical presentation of what is the key steps involved when you want to take the money from ATM or check something. So they develop some sort of posters so to help these women to do that. And then they also run some kind of workshop. So when they kind of like develop a series of like different posters to illustrate each steps, they test it with the women. So is that okay? Do you understand what you mean? What we mean here? And are you confident? So by asking them these questions and testing this idea, is actually build up some of their confidence in dealing with the ATM. Another challenge that they need to face is that, okay, what about I need to go to the bank and talk to the people? So for people like us, going to the bank is no brainer. We don't need to summon courage to do that. But for them, that could be very, very overwhelming experience because they cannot understand what is in the receipts. So after this kind of discovery, through this insight, some very interesting alternative was actually developed. How about we don't follow the old system of like using the regular receipts? How about we just make it very, very simple, right? Without a lot of information, we just say 3000 and then ask them not even to kind of write their name, just put their just the thumbprint, just to kind of like to signal that they already received that money. So it's kind of like a check, right? So this is much, much easier for them. So after these adaptation, they talk to this women. Is that okay for you? When the confidence became kind of like build up more and more, then they can think about what is the next step. Okay, because through the interview, we know that a lot of women actually have a long-term aspiration. They want to save the money for their daughter's dowry. Some of them want to go to Mecca. So once they're confident in managing their own finances, then we can talk about the long-term planning and other financial inclusions. So this is the story that I would like to share with you. So based on these two stories, so what are the key success factors for like applying design thinking? The first steps we always talk about design thinking is empathize, right? So we really have to suspend our assumption. Sometimes our assumption is as subtle as our understanding of like the numbers and how the numbers are written, as illustrated in this example. Another very important key success factor is that you really have to spend significant time to understand the user's lives and see things through their eyes. When I did some commercial projects, sometimes we did a project on like maybe a new cooking sauce. We need to spend a few days following different kind of chefs to observe how they conduct their lives and how they use different products, because when we actually see things through their eyes, then we can really feel their pain points much better. So that is something that I wrote here in the third one. Is about the real pain point, right? So the pain point is something that is most important. That's the deepest pain that once you help them to overcome that, you are kind of like almost there in terms of providing effective solution. Last but not least, you have to scope your how might we questions, your problem statement at the right level. As I said before, sometimes the how might we may be too broad, right? How can we solve literacy is a very broad statement that is not something that you can solve in one single project. So by breaking it down and also at the different levels, you can have multiple projects to kind of like address different facets of the problems. But at least for this particular one, we want to help these women to be more financially included and also to be able to receive the money effectively and use the money effectively. In this context, our how might we question have to scope that in such a way that how can we develop some effective solution as the way that can help them to overcome the barriers of literacy, illiteracy in receiving the money. So that is the right level we're talking about. So hopefully these two story can give you some interesting things to reflect on and help you to understand more about design thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Choi, for sharing with us so much. And it is such a valuable opportunity for the audience to learn about social innovation and also tips on how to make a big success. So now I think during the application period, we actually received quite a number of questions. And taking this opportunity, let's move on to the Q&A section. And Dr. Choi and Mr. Oi, let's start it right away. For the first questions that I've received, I think it addresses to both Dr. Choi and also Nick. It's asking about what your strong academia background and connection. Can you give some recommendations on critical personalities or attitudes that a university student should embrace in order to be innovative? So what if let's start with Nick first.
All right, thank you so much. For like critical personalities, I think students should embrace would be given three B's. Okay, be ready to accept criticism, because whenever we do innovative, we are learning from failure, and we are going to find a lot of failures during the process.
No matter you talk to different stakeholders, you talk to different mentors, they are going to tell you your ideas doesn't work. So be ready for criticism and be ready to change. And how can we make positive changes in this? The second B is be open mind to receive suggestions from different stakeholders. So because you're going to get a lot of feedback and suggestions in this way. The third B is be curious to find out more problems. Because if you don't find out problems earlier, problems are going to find you later. So to know what happened before is to solve it is better than for it to come to you. So that would be my 2 points for you guys.
Thank you, Nick. What about you, Dr. Choi?
Yeah, I echo everything that Nick said, and I would like to add two additional points. The first one is that when you're doing the design thinking and innovation work, right, you have to be very mindful of suspending a judgment and not to criticize and be too critical at the very beginning. That is actually very important because we have seen a lot of like ideas killer, whatever other people said. It's like, oh, we have done something similar before. Oh, it won't work. So a lot of innovation come from seemingly crazy ideas. Another thing that I would like to raise is that it's extremely important to embrace diversity. I think that is something that I see not very common in Hong Kong, is that because our culture is relatively homogeneous, right? I think today we have two speakers who are not really pure Hong Konger. I'm actually half Thai. So I think it's actually quite interesting mix here is that we actually from a slightly different culture and then we can bring different perspective to come together. So we really want to suggest all of our students to try to work with people who will have very different background and different perspective and try to come up with different interpretation when you are trying to kind of like identify what are the insights here.
Great. Thank you so much, Nick, and also Dr. Choi, for telling us so much about what 3Bs, like be mindful not to be too critical, be willing to accept criticism, be open-minded, and also be curious. Okay, so let's go on with our Q&A section. And the next question, I think it's for Nick. Yes, I've got a question from a university student. Here she says she is a current university year one student and is very eager to develop his or her future career for a technology startup. And what would you recommend the university students like her or he to get prepared in these years?
Usually, if you're year one students, I would suggest you to understand the challenges and issues currently happening in the community. Because, like Elsie just now was saying, get to the real pain point. You need to understand the pain point before you create a solution for it. We don't usually create a product and service before knowing what the problem or challenges they were trying to solve. Secondly, since you're year one, it's easy for you to make friends, right? So find a co-founder that think alike and also get their strength to work with you together into developing into a technology startups and talk to mentors. I believe all different universities have a center or department that help people to develop the startup. For example, at Lingnan University, we have Lingnan Entrepreneurship Initiative, LEI. For CHK, we have ORKTS, like from LC's center. From Hong Kong, you have Idendron from UST, US Center for Entrepreneurship. So get the support from the mentors and understand their feedback, understand their suggestions, how you can develop further. Even they can provide you funding, training, workshops, or some kind of skill set like pitching or writing a proposal. Lastly, remember also, since if you're studying a technology, adopt what you study in the academic into building a business, because that would be very much helpful, especially doing what you like and doing what you are good at. So yeah.
Thank you, Nick, for sharing the practical tips. It's not hard. Like in university year one, there's so much for you to explore. And in order to be innovative or like design thinking, we start with the first step, empathy, and also be curious, observant about things that happen around you. And that's where you can start to be an innovator. And definitely in university, you have so much to learn, so many people to meet. It's a very good place for you to mingle around, find assistants, or even find a co-founder, which can work with you as what Nick has stated. So now, the next question is for Dr. Choi. Dr. Choi, some of the audiences would like to know how social and private enterprises collaboration can support innovation in Hong Kong.
Okay, I think that's a very good question. Um, I talk about like the importance of diversity and different mindset, and in a way, like social enterprises are very good at understanding like the people, what are the needs of a certain beneficiary groups, and the private enterprise are actually very good at effectively deploy their resources to achieve the result. I think when both uh, kind of people of both worlds come together is actually the most amazing things that happen because they really bring like a different perspective. I think the in terms of how would be like if they can come together and go through a design thinking process and they can really like have some idea generation together, the result could be amazing. As UHK, we actually advocate this kind of collaboration a lot. Even internally, we try to get professors who already have very good research to talk to the students and also the NGOs, like they will come together and sometimes we even invite some of our friends from a private sector so that they can actually put like a different perspective together and then we can co-create something very interesting.
Thank you so much, Dr. Choi, for sharing with us. And I think due to time constraint, we have to wrap up for today's seminar. And thank you once again so much to Dr. Choi and Dr. Elsie Choi and also Mr. Nicholas Oi for sharing with us so many valuable tips on design thinking and social innovation. Once again, a big round of applause to Dr. Choi and Nick. Thank you so much. So now, on behalf of the HKSTP, I would like to thank everyone for joining us at this workshop. May I invite all of you to take 30 seconds, just 30 seconds to fill in a simple questionnaire that could help us plan better next time for you. Click the link in the inbox for the simple questionnaire. Remember to fill it in so we can understand your needs and comments better. And for anyone who has not opened your account for the Grand Challenge or even not yet enrolled for the Grand Challenge, don't hesitate. Simply scan the QR code at the screen now or head to the website of the Grand Challenge, which is www.citytaggc.hk to join us. The Next Star workshop will be held on the 22nd of April, which we have invited representatives from tech giants to share their ideas on technology and our city. Stay tuned for more upcoming workshops at our event website to bring your ideas to life and help alleviate Hong Kong's imminent challenges. Be an innovator and submit your application now. Feel free to drop your inquiry with us by email or simply call us at 2629-0148. I repeat again, it's 2629-0148. Remember, we are looking forward to meeting you all at the Grand Challenge. See you next time at our next workshop. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.